Welcome to another episode of the Go Flush Yourself podcast with Jared Kirk and Matt Milbauer. Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of the Go Flush Yourself podcast. Trying something new this week. It's just me, Matt, no Jared this week, but I've been doing some deep dives into different dog breeds, firearms, shotguns, I guess, really, and some other topics kind of related in our flushing dog, upland hunting world. And I thought I'd share some of those with you periodically. I'm not sure how often we're going to do something like this. I guess it really depends on feedback from you all. So if this is something you're interested in and like, let me know, or reach back out, hit us up on social media, email, whatever. Let us know that you liked it, didn't like it, want something different ideas. Whatever feedback you have is appreciated. But this is just something we want to try, see how it works, and let us know. Let us know how you like it. With that, we'll get into the episode. This is the history of the Labrador Retriever. Picture this, a rugged, windswept coastline in the far north of the New World, where the Atlantic crashes against jagged rocks and the air carries the sharp tang of salt and fish. It's the 16th century, and European fishermen, hardened souls from England, Portugal, France, and beyond, are carving out a living in the cod-rich waters off Newfoundland. They didn't come alone. They brought dogs, working beasts that mingled with whatever local canines the indigenous people might have had, or perhaps strays from earlier voyages. Out of this chaotic brew emerges something remarkable, the St. John's water dog, named for the bustling port of St. John's, the heart of it all. These weren't pampered pets. They were tools of survival in a world where the sea gave and took with equal ferocity. Medium built, with dense oily coats, and repelled the icy grip of the sea, webbed paws for cutting through waves, and tails like otters for steering in the currents, these dogs were engineered by necessity. Fishermen depended on them to haul nets heavy with cod back to shore, to dive after escaped fish, even to plunge into the frigid depths to retrieve lost lines or hooks. And in those desperate moments, when a man went overboard, these dogs were known to save lives, pulling drowning sailors through the swells, their powerful strokes defying the ocean's pull. But let's not romanticize it too much. This was a brutal existence, where dogs were bred for utility, not sentiment. Survival rates were low. Only the toughest endured the winters, the waves, and the work. By the 1700s, the 18th century, accounts distinguished two strains, the larger long-haired Newfoundland dog that we still know today, often used for draft work and rescues, and the smaller, smoother-coated St. John's variety, the true ancestor of what we'd later call the Labrador Retriever. These smaller dogs are prized for their agility and endurance, capable of leaping from boats into the surf without hesitation. I already have a picture in my head of what that leap looks like, as we see dock dogs, and if you've ever owned a Labrador, jumping off a dock after retrieving item. Historical records from the era, sparse as they are, paint a picture of a breed forged in the crucible of colonial exploitation, the cod trade that built empires and broke backs. Now imagine the twist of fate. These dogs start hitching rides back across the ocean on salt cod ships bound for English ports like Poole and Dorset. It's now the early 1800s, and British sportsmen, those aristocrats with estates and shotguns, catch wind of these Newfoundlanders. Colonel Peter Hawker, in his 1814 manual, quote, Instructions to Young Sportsmen, describes them as unmatched for shooting, swift on land and in water, with an endurance that shames lesser breeds. Hawker wasn't alone. Other writers of the time marveled at the versatility, noting how they could switch from retrieving nets to fetching game with ease. But back in Newfoundland, dark clouds gather. The Sheep Protection Act of 1885 imposes crushing taxes on non-sheep herding dogs to safeguard livestock, nearly eradicating the breed. British quarantine laws seal the deal. halting imports by the late 19th century. Then by the late 1970s, the last pure St. John's dogs, a pair of aging males, are captured in photographs with no mates to carry on the line. Extinction staring us in the face. It's a stark reminder of how fragile breeds can be, teetering on the edge of oblivion due to policy and, honestly, progress. The story doesn't end there, though, as we all already know. Those exported dogs take root in England, where the Industrial Revolution and the rise of leisure hunting among the elite create a perfect storm for breed refinement. The second Earl of Malmesbury acquires some in the 1830s, some being Labradors, breeding them at Huron Court for waterfowling on his marshy grounds. He's struck by their gentle grip, that soft mouth that delivers game unmarred, and in an 1887 letter he dubs them Labrador dogs, perhaps evoking the Labrador Sea, or simply to make them different from their bulkier cousins. He shares stock with the 5th Duke of Buccleuch and Lord John Scott, who import more, establishing key bloodlines. By the 1880s, a trio, the 3rd Earl of Malmesbury and the 6th Duke of Buccleuch and the 12th Earl of Home, collaborate to standardize the line. Foundational sires like Buccleuch, Avon, and Malmesbury Tramp anchor pedigrees tracing back to 1878. Crosses with local retrievers, flat-coated, curly-coated, and even some spaniel influences hone traits, intelligence, trainability, that relentless drive. Colors? Mostly black at first. Yellow emerges from a genetic anomaly in the 1890s. Chocolates later in the 1930s, initially dismissed as liver variants, but eventually embraced. The English Kennel Club recognizes them in 1903, the American counterpart in 1917. But why this push? Hunting, pure and unadorned. Victorian shooting parties on vast estates demanded dogs for retrieving waterfowl from fens and game birds from cover. Mixed bags that tested versatility. These weren't casual outings, they were spectacles of excess, with hundreds of birds flushed in a day, requiring dogs that could keep pace without faltering. Waterfowling, the arena where these dogs first proved their mettle, but not the only one. Think of the double coat, oily guard hairs shedding water like a duck's back, dense underwool warding off hypothermia and sub-zero plunges. Webbed feet propel them like aquatic engines, otter tails ruddering through chop and current. Hawkers' accounts paint them fetching from harbors, marking falls with unerring accuracy, executing blind retrieves on handler cues alone, finding birds they never saw drop, guided by whistles and hand signals honed over generations. In England, they became fixtures on estates, handling ducks in marshes that would break lesser dogs. Think of the Somerset Levels or the Norfolk Broads, where tides and mud tested every fiber. Crossing the Atlantic again in the early 1900s, they captivate American hunters on the East Coast, from the Chesapeake Bay to the Mississippi flyways. Field trials erupt in the 1930s, and labs dominate, mirroring English successes. The first AKC sanctioned retriever field trial in 1931 sets the stage, with dogs like Shed of Ardon winning national championships. King Buck, a black lab immortalized on a 1959 U.S. stamp, symbolizes this era. Endless retrieves in punishing conditions, including the National Retriever Championship stake, where he became the first dog to win it 3 times. But even in these water-centric tales, upland elements creep in. Many trials included land retrieves, simulating mixed hunts. But here's where the narrative deepens, and where we linger a bit longer today. These weren't specialists confined to the wetlands. The AKC standard itself notes their build for hunting waterfowl or upland game for long hours under difficult conditions. And if any of you have had a lab or had the luxury of hunting over one, you know that's true. Upland bird hunting, pheasants in golden prairies, quail in thorny thickets, grouse in shadowy forests, woodcock in alder swamps, demanded a different rhythm, a different set of instincts. As flushing retrievers, labs quarter the ground systematically, noses to the wind, weaving patterns that cover every inch without ranging too far from the gun. They don't point and freeze like setters or pointers. Instead, they push forward boldly, flushing birds into flight with a burst of energy that gives the hunter a clear shot. Their role? Multifaceted. A locator, a flusher, a retriever, all in one package. In the rough grouse woods of the Northeast, a lab's birdy tail, wagging excitedly on scent, signals the presence of game, alerting the handler before the flush. The pheasants in the Midwest, ideally they work at a moderate pace, staying within 20 to 30 yards, pounding through corn stubble or CRP grass with reckless abandon. Their size, usually 55 to 80 pounds, providing the stamina to burst through brambles that might snag a lighter dog. And when a bird drops, they mark the fall visually, charge in, and deliver to hand with that signature soft mouth, even trailing wounded runners through dense cover using their keen nose. This upland prowess evolved naturally from their water roots. In England's mixed shoots, grand affairs on estates, waterfowl mingled with land game like partridge and pheasant, requiring dogs that could adapt on the fly. British labs bred for calm diligence amid hundreds of birds excelled here. Steady, less frantic than their American counterparts. Post-World War II in America, as hunting diversified with the rise of public lands and conservation programs, labs filled an all-purpose niche. Paired with pointing breeds for location of vast fields, they'd take over for the flush and fetch. Solo, they'd methodically cover terrain, their intelligence allowing for complex handling. But evolution didn't stop there. Entering the pointing Labrador, a fascinating divergence. Some lines, through selective breeding, developed the instinct to point, rather than to flush immediately, holding steady on a scent, like a pointer before the command to proceed. The American Pointing Labrador Association, founded in the late 20th century, champions these dogs, arguing they combine the best of both worlds, the lab's retrieve and the pointer's paws. Dogs like those from Wild Rose Kennels in Mississippi exemplify this. Calm, natural game finders, trained for upland scenarios, with sires like Craighard grouse influencing lines for some of their pointing traits. Famous upland labs abound in the annals. Take Gunstock's Win for Me, a standout in hunt tests, blending upland and water work. Or the dogs from trainers like Mike Stewart at Wild Rose, whose British imported lines have produced upland stars like Deke, featured in training videos flushing quail with precision. In field trials, while water dominates, upland elements appear in walk-up tests simulating pheasant hunts, where labs like Carbon Copy of Horn Creek excelled in the 1990s. Training for upland? It's a deliberate process. Start with basic obedience, introduce quartering patterns, using planted birds, build steadiness to flush on command. British labs shine here, with their intensely yet calm demeanor, while American field lines bring explosive energy. Think of them charging through South Dakota's ringnecks or Montana's sharptails. Challenges? Their enthusiasm can lead to overranging if unchecked, but proper e-collar work or other kinds of training and handling turns this into an asset. Historical photos capture mixed hauls, ducks beside pheasants, testament to their range. Today, divergences emerge. American, quote, field labs, lean and high energy for trials. British ones, stockier for companionship and steady for hunts. Beyond the fields, they've branched guide dogs, search and rescue, detection. Yet hunting remains the thread. From conservation efforts with Ducks Unlimited and Pheasants Forever, where labs retrieve banded birds for migration studies, to everyday pursuits in America's heartland. So where does this tale take us? From Newfoundland's docks to global ubiquity, the Labrador embodies adaptation amid extinction's edge. Utility forged in hardship. Their upland legacy, often overshadowed by watery exploits, reveals a breed of profound versatility, flushing, retrieving, enduring. It's a chapter in the broader saga of human canine bonds, where survival and sport intertwine, challenging us to see beyond the familiar. Thanks for wandering this path with me. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Go Flush Yourself podcast. You can continue the conversation on our Discord server. The link is in the podcast description. You can also follow along with Matt and Jared on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to support the podcast, you can subscribe to the Go Flush Yourself on Patreon for the easy monthly cost of only $2. You can also check out our shop and pick up a Go Flush Yourself sticker, shirt, or other merchandise. All links are in the podcast description.